Cool.
Good morning, Hacksters! It is another Tuesday, another Hackster Café, and this week is a person I've been following for a while due to your really cool experiments with all kinds of retro and modern hardware and sort of smashing the two together, as well as other, art forms that are not necessarily electronic. But it's Josh Ellingson, everybody! Good morning, Josh. How's it going?
Good morning, Alex. Glad to be here. How are you?
I'm great, especially because I see a lot of cool blinky stuff going on in your background. Why don't we start with one of those? Yeah. What
Okay.
is what's the deal with this moon that's bouncing? Is it the moon? Is it Earth?
Um, yeah, it's kind of switching back and forth between the moon and a fish.
A
So right now it's
fish.
a fish. You can see the fish, and I've got this big color TV. It's a big Hitachi, and it's on its side, and there it blinks to the moon. And anyway, it's interacting with the bowl on top of it. You know, with the Pepper's Ghost technique that I've been doing.
Mm.
So yeah, the fish will float up and then into the bowl. Here. Turn off the light so you can see it a little bit better.
Ah.
Um, and let's focus in on it a little bit there. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, and like CRTs are notoriously difficult to film,
Mm.
so it's a little brighter than on camera than it is in person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what's happening in that situation.
Yeah, let's
And
talk a
that's
little bit
all.
about
Go
Pepper's
ahead.
Ghost, if you would. Just for
Oh
people who
man.
haven't heard of this before, do you have like you've been working with this for a while, so I'm wondering if you have like a quick 1 minute explanation that you do.
I got to work on that explanation because I mean it's yeah, I've been working on it for a bit. It's a reflection illusion. It's an old stage magic illusion. I think it dates back to the mid to late 1800s. I believe the technique was popularized by John Pepper, and the stage act involved an actual stage and then a giant piece of glass that would be reflecting something off stage. Okay, so this would make it appear as though there was some kind of floating apparition on stage with whatever actor was interacting with it.
Mm.
Um, I became familiar with it from the TV show Mr. Wizard's World on Nickelodeon in the
Ah,
80s. And Mr. Wizard would do all these crazy like experiments. Not crazy, they were all pretty practical, really. But
that
every
sounds
now and again, he'd do
awesome.
some. Oh, it was so cool. The show was so cool. But every now and again, he'd do something big and complicated. And one of the things he did, I remember, was he made a skeleton appear in a chair in an empty room using a giant piece of glass. And he would,
Wow.
yeah. And I thought, like I said, a lot of the experiments that he would do were pretty practical. And that one was not. But I wanted to do that one. I always thought that would be cool. But where am I going to get a huge piece of glass and a
Yeah.
skeleton, right? So
You don't know a
anyway,
guy
this kind of came
for
back.
skeletons.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, you can do them small is the point I'm trying to make here. So
Mm.
here's this one. I'll show you more about this one in a minute. But this one is coming from an oscilloscope, if you can see it. So there's
Yeah.
the oscilloscope screen, and this is a very small Pepper's Ghost. So this is a repurposed snow globe, and then inside it is just this reflector, right? It's just a piece
Yeah.
of plastic, a piece of polycarbonate that I cut down, and it lives in there at an angle, and it's reflecting. So it's similar to the stage act where there's a piece of angled clear or something or other substrate, but this is much easier to deal with and doesn't require glass. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of different ways we can go with this. First up, people who haven't seen Mr. Wizard's World might also be familiar with this from the Haunted Mansion at Disney World.
Oh
I think that
yeah,
they use that for some ghosts and stuff very
totally.
appropriately. And also, all the Josh's links are down in the description below. This is his Instagram, and you have a lot of cool tutorials that you've been posting recently on like how to make one of these with just like some polycarbonate, or there's another, I forget what the other plastic that you use is, sometimes like a thin flexi
Yeah,
plastic,
you can
but
use acrylic, but you can even use food packaging. So
right.
one of my tutorials, instead of using a snow globe like this, I used a Frappuccino lid from
Oh yeah.
Starbucks. And then while I was at the store, I bought like a pack of oatmeal cookies and then I use the lid, or the top of the oatmeal cookie packaging, and just cut a piece to fit inside the Frappuccino lid. And then you can just use your phone. You don't have to get a big oscilloscope or a giant TV. You could just use your phone, and then whatever is on your phone it'll be reflected in this thing, obviously, but it helps if the background of whatever you're reflecting is black. And that way anything that's black will become transparent in the thing, and then it'll look like it's floating, and you can amaze your friends and get lots of likes on Instagram.
Here's that quick little sort of quick and dirty Pepper's Ghost
Cool.
tutorial that you post. Yeah, there's all kinds of these ones that you've been posting, and I love that you're like really explaining to people how the whole concept works. And the results are so amazing. I actually, I never posted this, but I saw your exhibition in the window at downtown on Valencia and SF a few months ago, and just like seeing all of these next to each other doing their little blips and bloops, and like you do some interesting manipulations of the video content as well. Some of it is based on audio. Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, totally. I'd love to talk about that. Thanks. Yeah. So, I've been using my synthesizer to manipulate the image with audio, and I use this live performance software called VDMX for that, and it's used. I mean, it's kind of an old VJ software, basically, but it's very versatile. And one of the things it does is it you can bring audio into it and then trigger different parts of the audio waveform to anything, buttons and that you can set up inside the software, or sliders to make things move. And it's pretty like intuitive once you get the hang of it. There is a learning curve, but it doesn't take long before you can suddenly make your voice, or make a drum machine manipulate video, or yeah, it's once you do it, once it happens, it's completely addictive. I didn't think I was going to go that route. I never envisioned being any kind of video artist or real-time audio experimenter, but as soon as I saw something that I put on the screen wobble to sound, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be doing this. This is what I'm doing.
It plays very well with your sort of almost spooky, but kind of weird. You use a lot of sort of retro videos of old commercials and stuff that appears very weird to us nowadays, and maybe it did back then too. And just adding that extra sort of glitchy effect, or like weird wobbly timey-wimey effect, is it just
cool.
Really brings it to another level.
I'm glad it works.
And so tell us about your modular synth rig here.
Okay, let's maybe I can focus back on it a bit.
Oh yeah.
So this thing, it's a Moog. It's a stack of Moog semi-modular synthesizers. There's on the top is the DFAM, which is the drummer from Another Mother. It's like it makes percussive noises, so that's fun to make things pulse to, or it can do all kinds of sounds, really. And then the one below that is the brains of the operation. The one in the middle, that's the Mother 32, and that can send random things. It can say, hey, skip around up here and then go back down here, or so it's kind of the brains of the situation. And then below that is this it's called the subharmonicon, and it can play a few different tones at the same time in polyrhythmic patterns, and it can make things pretty funky. So when they all work together, they all have patch points on the ends, and you can plug them all into each other, and they can all talk to each other and work off each other in this weirdly organic way. And then when you feed all those individually and together into the video software to kind of make things move around, things feel real good. Like it's kind of an in the moment thing, but yeah, it kind of feels alive sometimes.
Awesome, especially because they're all kind of from the same family and they're playing together.
Oh yeah,
that screen that you have on the top, is that it looks so perfect with the rig, but is it actually designed to work with synthesizers?
No, it's a TV. It's a GE. It's a 1973, I think. General Electric black and white portable set. It used to have a handle on top, but I took the handle off so I could put my fish on top of it.
Oh, I didn't
But it
notice
just
that.
happens to fit like perfectly with the Moogs. I made a little shelf for it yesterday because it wasn't as stable as I wanted it to be, but it pretty much
Oh,
fit up there without the shelf for a long time.
you gotta have your fish
Yeah,
stable.
gotta have a stable fish, you know. He's the
Yeah,
mascot,
what you doing if you don't have a
or
stable
she's the
fish?
mascot.
What are your favorite things to put through here? You got moons, fish, birds, advertisements, oscilloscope stuff. Why do you like each of these? Or
Well,
what is there anything like common between them that sort of attracts you to these subjects? What do you look for?
yeah, I've been thinking about that. Like, what is the commonality? I think the fish. So the fish like is one of the first things I did, and then it kind of that was actually the mascot. Really, that kind of just
Mhm.
became like almost like the tester for all these different experiments was the fish. If the fish worked, if the fish looked good, then I know I had it. And then it just became I really liked the fish. And it's a stock video from shutterstock.com. If you just Google goldfish on black background, you can find it. And I used it without buying it for a while. And then I was like, I'm going to buy this because it's great. So I bought it, and I got the HD version of the fish. And you could see like way more stuff on the fish. And one of the things that I didn't see in the low res version that I saw in the high res version is that one of the things that I thought was a fin was just is a piece of poop hanging off the fish's butt. So I've got that in glorious HD,
That's funny.
and so I've got some hologram poop.
Ah.
The moon,
Oh,
I've always enjoyed moon stuff, and so I just use that one a lot. Did you have a question?
just you said the word. You said hologram, and
Oh, I
there's
did, didn't I?
yeah, we have to
Oh
dig into that.
man.
Oh,
I really avoid using hologram. Um, I can't believe
let's
I
talk
just
about
slipped up
it.
and
We can
yeah,
use it
yeah.
to,
Let's talk
tell
about it.
people. Yeah, what's the
It's
deal?
good.
So I've made holograms in the past, like on glass and stuff with chemicals, and tell us about the difference between, uh, you know, I'm not gonna be mean at you.
No, that's okay. Let me put the focus on me if we're gonna zero in on me. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know anything about holography. I know that holograms are awesome, and I've seen real ones, and they're
Oh
amazing.
yeah.
And the way that they can freeze 3D space in some sort of crystal, that
Mm.
stays 3D even when whatever is gone. That's insane and great. And optical scientists should like absolutely have that word. That's their word. Like, um, this what I'm doing is, it's a stage illusion. It's a very simple practical effect, and I never try to hide that it's a reflection. I want people to know, and I want people to know how easy it is to make one of these.
Mm.
So I'm not trying to hide it behind a term like a hologram to make it
Yeah.
seem like I'm doing something fancier than it is. Um, I know that some companies market their Pepper's Ghost products as holograms because that immediately resonates with people, but it also makes it sound more expensive and fancy, and
Mm.
that can be a little bit deceptive, but I understand why they do that. I've heard this sort of illusion described as a Pepper's Ghost style hologram, and I kind of like that because at least
Mm.
it gives people access to research what Pepper's Ghost is. So if I just said
Mm.
hologram, you might be like, that's too complicated for me, or oh,
Yeah.
but if I said Pepper's Ghost, and then you'd be like, what the hell is that? I'm going to Google that, and then I can do that, or at least come to some kind of understanding of what it is. I just feel like if you just say hologram, we have a whole like such a history of sci-fi connotations with that I don't think it's enough.
Yeah.
But here I went and said hologram poop. So oops.
Yeah, so I'll give a really quick my understanding of it from doing some of this in the past is that and also I'll pull up the Wikipedia, yeah, for us. Oh no, that's Pepper Ghost. Okay, holograms. So in my opinion, the quickest way to say it is that a hologram has parallax, and the way that I think of it is that it is capturing the way that light reflects off of an object in what seems like a very complex Fresnel lens that's made of chemicals on, for example, a sheet of glass. There's actually a couple different ways. You can do it with stamped foil, like on your credit card or whatever. But basically, it's mimicking the way that light bounces off of something, so that when you rotate the pane of glass or whatever it is, the light bounces off it the same way that the 3D object would reflect it. And so you can get, for example, this little mouse friend here who is shown from two different angles at the same time. It must be a taxidermy mouse because you gotta keep stuff really still for
Yeah.
this. But then there's another interesting one that I should mention real quick, which is like there's a way that people make another kind of hologram, which again doesn't have parallax. For me, it's like about like, so the idea of it being hollow is like it sort of holistically captures the way that light reflects off of something, so you have perspective, right? But there's another way that people can do it where you project onto a scrim, and so it appears to float in midair. You're projecting the same kind of thing that you're doing with like a black background and
Oh, right.
a bright image in the middle. Yeah, and then you
Mhm.
project it onto like a black piece of very diaphanous fabric. And then, for
Mhm.
example, Hatsune Miku or the Tupac hologram that came up a few years ago. I did not have this rant prepared. I'm just trying to tell people what like the different options are. You've got
No, it's good.
hyperspace,
Yeah. No.
you got holograms, you got this, whatever this is called, projecting onto a scrim. And yeah, they're all rad.
They're
And I
all,
like
yeah.
your approach of making it so, especially this one with the Starbucks cup, I think is just quintessentially sort of making it approachable and being like, you can do this. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to do a Slurpee lid next. Like, I want to
Ah!
go to 7-Eleven, get a Slurpee, because I think those are even more domey. Like the
Oh yeah.
Frappuccino lids are pretty domey, but I think a Slurpee lid is like even more like. And then if I get like some other junk food at 7-Eleven, I can use that as a reflector on the inside. So that's just on the list of things to do.
I love this
Um,
idea of just like going around randomly and finding like scavenging stuff in the environment to make it cool.
yeah, yeah, I've done it with you can use and this I posted this on TikTok and I got a billion hilarious replies from like teenagers, but uh you can use a cassette case, like like an old cassette case. But if
Oh
it's
yeah.
clear, right, you can just fold it back on top of itself all the way back so that it goes at an angle. And that's
Yeah.
actually like the perfect size for your phone. So if you just take a clear cassette case, fold it back on top of itself, put it on top of your phone, then you've immediately got a 45-degree angle to work with. And if you don't
Wow.
have one of those, you can use like a CD case. You can just take all the stuff out of a CD case and then just cram your phone in between the lid and the inside, and then it'll usually sit at a 45-degree angle. But I posted both of those things on TikTok and everyone's like, who's got a CD case? What, who's got a, do you know who you're talking to, dude? And I'm like, oh, come on, man. I mean, I'm working with CRTs and
Yeah.
vintage oscilloscopes, like CDs and cassettes are like new technology compared to this stuff.
They have to give you crap for it though.
It's cool. I teach 20-year-olds at a local art school, and
Oh cool.
I'm used to it.
What do you teach?
I teach Photoshop and Illustrator and some other digital tools to illustration students at California College of the Arts.
Hmm.
I teach, usually one class a semester, and they're all pretty great. And they're all using iPads and Apple Pencils since they've been using those since high school. And so I'm trying to make them use Photoshop, and they're like, "What?" So I get to show them the power of Photoshop. Yeah.
Uh, I imagine that you use some of those skills in creating these awesome little things, which are not technically electronic, but they're bad electronics. And I just
Hey,
gotta share
cool.
because these are so rad, the things that you make.
Thank you
What's
so
the deal
much.
with these little? Oh yeah, what's the
Mm.
deal with these little TVs?
Right. So the whole reason that I got into all this is because I bought a black and white TV at the thrift store like three years ago. I had wanted one for a long time. I had a broken black and white TV, but then I went to the thrift and I found this nice GE, had a great picture
Mm.
on it. brought it home. My plan was to just like hook a media player to it and then just have that media player loaded up with like black and white TV shows from, like the 60s, 70s, and whatever, because it's just anything I put on it's going to be in black and white. But I wanted all these shows like on at all times, so I could just turn on the TV. I'd have shows. And then I
What
got
is
it
okay.
home and realized I didn't have a media player, but I did have an old Roku box. So I plugged my first generation Roku box into it, and it worked great because it had the right aspect ratio. Posted the Twilight Zone clip on Twitter, or a Twilight Zone clip on Twitter, and then went for a walk, came back, and that had blown up in popularity with
Oh my
people who
gosh.
didn't think you could hook a Roku to a black and white TV. And okay, so then that got me thinking, hey, I'm gonna, plug all kinds of things into this TV, and so my point is eventually I made a pin of that TV because that kind of started everything, and so that pin got popular, and now I've made a whole bunch of different TV pins based on my collection of vintage televisions because now I have many.
Right. Which one of these is the original? Is it this wood guy
Let
or?
me see what you're looking
Cool.
at here. I got you moved over.
Oh, sorry.
It's the one that says original edition. So it's
Ah,
like
this
yeah,
guy.
there you go. That one.
Cool.
It's another GE set. It's got this nice kind of sloped curved background. All the pins, they glow in the dark, and then I've
Haha.
designed lenticular overlay screens. So the lenticular overlay screens are translucent so that the glow from the glow in the dark enamel shines through after you've like charged it up with sunlight or UV, and so it glows in the dark and animates.
Haha.
I sell them with stickers either on there, so if you don't need a full set of stickers, but I do sell sets. So if you want to give it as a gift and people can choose their own stickers, or you just want to have backup stickers, or you just want to stick stickers, whatever. Yeah.
Excellent. And there's all kinds of different places to follow you, by the way. Folks, no matter like what platform it is that you're on, it seems like you can follow Josh. So we got Instagram, we got Twitter, we got TikTok, we got YouTube. There's even a Patreon, and you, all this stuff on Etsy. And then, a regular website. Fancy that.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
I'm impressed
Who
that yours
knew?
actually seems to be up to date. That's a rare
I'm
thing
a little
nowadays.
behind, but yeah, it's hard to keep up with all the different places you got to post stuff, right? It's like, so I
But
try
there's
to
sort of
yeah, I try to like put them all together in one video on my website for like, the end of the month or something, or the end of every other month. And but
cool.
thanks. I'm glad you like it.
Oh yeah, and I love that you go more in depth with these things with blog posts sort of being like project examples and stuff because sometimes it's fun to
Yeah.
sort of read more about them. Uh,
Yeah, there's so much I've learned from this stuff. Like, I mean, again, I didn't expect to get into this. Like for the last 20 something years, I've been a commercial illustrator. Besides teaching illustration students or whatever, like my whole thing has been making, like images with Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop and stuff like that, and working with book publishers and advertising agencies and that sort of thing. And then I just kind of like took a hard left turn into this video stuff, probably mainly just from being inside for like a couple years, tinkering with my collection of TVs. But I love it, and I don't want to stop. I'm just going to keep doing this. Yeah.
that's rad. And also you have this connection with modular synthesizers, which I feel like I've learned a little bit about that over the last couple of years, and it seems like it does kind of give you a bit of a sense of what's going on electronically because you're literally connecting things with wires and you're modifying a signal, modulating a signal with different frequencies and different voltages and
Totally.
all kinds of stuff like that. Do you feel like you've gotten a bit of an insight into electronics as well?
Yeah, only kind of recently have I made that connection that it's actually like, because I've tried in the past to like circuit bend things or like even just
Mm,
fix broken stuff with my soldering
cool.
iron. And I'd put together like like a kit for like an LED toy, and that actually worked. But almost everything that I've touched with the soldering iron is broken in some way, and so I always leave those projects disappointed. then I got into modular synthesizers and stuff, and then I mean, I know that it's voltages, but it doesn't feel like this because of the patches. It's just so much easier to just plug this into this, and then dial back this and attenuate this,
Mm.
as opposed to working with a breadboard or things that I was having difficulty with. So yeah, you're right. Like it totally is electronics. I've just recently watched videos of people hooking resistors and other things to the ends of the patch cables or in between patch cables so that they can change the
Whoa.
signal in some way with electronics components. And I was like, oh, that's right. These are just. I
Whoa.
mean, yeah, you could totally just use gator clips and you know manipulate your synthesizer that way. I don't know. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, I want
Yeah.
to I'm gonna have to look that up. That sounds rad. There's a cool I just gotta pull this up real quick.
Yeah.
Landscape.fm makes a really interesting thing for modular synths where let me see if I can find it. I think it's here. Uh if this is what I'm thinking of, it is some little pads that you can attach to little oh these are banana clips, but there's ones with
With
straight
eighth inch
standard. Here
jack.
we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. And basically, you can
Cool.
just use your finger to connect things on your modulars and have
Ooh.
this sort of
Ooh.
organic, weird interaction with the electronics as well. And I think that interface between circuits and the human body is really interesting. And
That is
what you're doing
cool.
is like circuits and everything. We got to dig into the oscilloscope stuff in a minute, but there's something else.
Sure. Yeah, we can talk. One thing I got recently was this desktop Tesla coil. Have you seen these? I'm
Oh
sure your
yeah,
viewers
yeah.
all already know all about these. This was like it was on sale, and I never knew that you could get a Tesla coil like in this format. Like I always assumed
Mm.
you had to have some giant. I don't have a lot of room, so but yeah, this has been a lot of fun to play with. Um, so I've made some videos with this thing, and then yesterday, I don't know, the day they all blend together. But yeah, yesterday I hooked one of my synthesizer devices to an antenna that would pick up the interference that this causes when it gets going.
Whoa.
So it can create like pulses and gate signals that then I send from the box that's picking it up over to the Moog rig, so that I'm not zapping the Moog rig, but I'm triggering it,
Mhm.
with the interference from
Oh,
the
brilliant.
yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, like the result is pretty much the same as just making the thing run at the speed that this would run at, but the
Mm.
experiment was fun. I don't know
Yeah.
like that it's making anything unique other than just being interesting or cool. um so yeah, here's that thing that's I don't know if you can see it. So this is called the field kit.
Mm.
It's it's a synthesizery thing, but it has a radio, and you can hook an antenna into it. So I just took this loop antenna and hooked it in there,
Huh.
and then it also has an envelope follower. So what it's doing is picking up the radio signal and then turning that into CV, and then you send the output wherever. So anyway, there's a video on my Instagram or wherever about that if you want to check that
Neat.
out at some point.
Oh, I will not join your email list.
Um,
Yeah, for people who aren't aware, CVs for
oh, the field
control
kit's really
voltage.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ah,
it
good stuff.
has DC out, so you can run motors. You can
Oh, cool.
turn lights on and off with it. Um,
This is very
there's
exciting.
so much with it I haven't explored. Sometimes I'll just pick things up and then I have no idea what to do with them, and then a
Mm.
year later it's like, oh, I can put an antenna into that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Um. So you've got all these different things going on. I know that you mentioned you were inspired by Mr. Wizard. You were inspired by these sort of like this desire to have these 60s these TV shows playing all the time. What else do you look up to as like aesthetic inspiration? Are there people that you follow or people from the past or
Oh,
yeah?
so many. Uh, Well, I mean, because I've been getting into this, I've been seeing a lot of cool stuff and with synthesizers and visuals. And one of the people I follow, this guy Charlie Visnick, does some amazing stuff with video manipulations with his synthesizer. And his performer name is the B-roll. So if you Google or check out, if you like this kind of video manipulation stuff, you should check out Charlie Visnick's the B-roll on Instagram. So cool,
Mm.
so good. As far as like aesthetic things, I mean, there's so many great fabricators and people. There's it's just endless. But one of the people I really like to follow is Love Halton. I don't know if you've seen Love Halton's work, but
No.
um, I think it's a guy, but Love Halton makes these custom synthesizers, and they're made to look like Stanley Kubrick movie props. I mean, maybe that's not what he's going for, but that's what I think they look like, and they're just beautiful,
Ooh.
and they're one of a kind things, and they're made to match
Oh
the
wow.
vintage. Yeah, you're seeing Love Holton stuff there. So cool. Yeah, there's
But
an
it's like a
oscilloscope
oh wow, like
situation.
a gamepad and an oscilloscope. That's exactly where I wanted to go next. Perfect. Perfect segue. Oh, look at this though. Little you've got a visual rhythm sequencer thingy with little nubbins in here. That's super cool. I'm
I
assuming
know,
that's
like
what that
some of
is. It
it's
looks
like
like
unnecessary, but it's
optical
beautiful
sensors.
unnecessary. You know.
Yeah, but also,
Um,
this looks like it's a physical way of like doing synthesis sequencing, which normally you would have to do on like a screen or with little buttons or whatever. But
so
just being able
nice,
to put, uh, it's almost like a Euclidean. Ah!
tactile.
Yeah,
Another
yeah,
person
yeah.
to follow is Look Mum No Computer. I think
Oh,
the guy's name is
absolutely.
Sam. Love Sam stuff. Um,
And then here's the
yeah,
other one, the B-roll that we were looking at a second ago, um,
yeah,
just for people to check out. Uh, yeah.
yeah.
So, oh my gosh,
Okay,
oscilloscopes. Tell us about
oscilloscopes.
how you make cool stuff with oscilloscopes.
Well, I mean, I can't take a lot of the credit for like how it happens on the oscilloscope. That a couple of genius Austrian artists developers made that. Jerobeam Fenderson and Hansi
Amazing name.
uh, uh, Rabi, I think. I'm sorry,
Mm.
Hansi.
Yeah.
These guys developed software that turns like 3D visuals into sound for oscilloscopes. And not only does it do that, but it does it like live, and it does it in 3D, and it does it in a way that's MIDI
Oh,
manipulatable. It just it and they did it like 10 years ago or something
wow,
like
yeah.
so they're still posting, or at least every now and again one of them will post, and it's kind of spawned a whole subset, it seems, of oscilloscope artwork. Maybe some of your viewers are way into that already. It was
Mm.
kind of new to me, like I think I had seen an oscilloscope video a couple years ago, and I thought it was like a joke because I was like,
Ah, no way.
because it starts convincing. You're like, oh, okay, well, it was like they're making mushrooms with oscilloscopes,
I
and then it
thought,
takes you
yeah,
on a
looking
whole.
up.
You've seen it.
Uh-huh.
It takes you on a whole mushroom adventure, and you're with people, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, no, this is like After Effects or some other editing software. But nope, no, it was real the whole time, and I just didn't know. I just dismissed it as being like too far ahead, and that, again, that was years ago. Anyway, I rediscovered it because a friend of mine lent me his oscilloscope. He was like, hey, I've got this oscilloscope, maybe you can do something with it. And I was like, I think I remember something about mushrooms on oscilloscopes, and like maybe I can do that. And everything's a rabbit hole with this stuff, so I got to find the bottom of the rabbit hole. And so that kind
Mm.
of led me to get Oski Studio and play with it. And then it was an immediate fit for Pepper's Ghost, because the beam that comes off an oscilloscope is very bright and the rest of the screen stays completely
Yeah.
off. So it's like a little laser show just made to happen inside of, like a snow globe or a whatever. This particular model is this is a Heathkit, like vintage large oscilloscope, and it's not as bright as like some of my other smaller oscilloscopes. But but this one looks better on camera and it's cool. So
It is cool.
anyway, what was I going to say about that? Yeah, I don't know. It's I go away from it and I come back to it because I really like the video stuff. I really like manipulating things that are representational of things like this duck or like that fish or some vintage advertisement. But sometimes I just want to come back to like some kind of spinning cube or orbits that move to MIDI or something like that. And the
I
example that
found
you're
that
showing right now, I built a television in 3D and then had that translated into sounds that this thing could display. So that was probably the most representational thing that I was able to put in this. In that example specifically, sorry, feel free to jump in. I know I talk a lot,
No.
but
Please go. This is the point of it. It's your show.
yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Um, so in this example, like I wanted a large, like a really big oscilloscope, Pepper's Ghost.
Mm.
But these screens, even though this is really big, isn't big enough, So I've got a live video feed. I'm pointing at my screen. I've got a live video feed going from the tube here over to another flat panel that's on a table, and then a giant dome that's the projection is inside. So I'm able to make a larger one based on a video projection, basically, or reflection.
Okay, when I saw this,
Yeah.
I thought that it was like a perspective thing, but no, it's like actually that large. I thought it was like this one is the
Yeah, no,
foreground.
that's
Wow.
yeah, that's it's a like a 23 or 30. I think it's a 30-inch vacuum or vacuum bell
Wow.
jar. Yeah, it's heavy and it's big, but it's cool. And there's just a very large piece of polycarbonate that I cut and put inside to fit, and it's on top of a 30-inch Dell monitor.
Yeah, having scouted around like tap plastics for domes like this, do you get them? You said that this one is glass and it's from like a vacuum formed bell
Oh
jar.
no, it's acrylic. It's
Ah,
inch thick acrylic. Sorry
dang,
if I
where did
said
you
it was
get
glass.
that?
You can
Oh,
get
I
that.
don't know if you did. I just sort of assumed.
Yeah, you can get. I got that one. I got it at Rio Grande, which is a
Mm.
jewelry sourcing website. So
Ah, cool.
yeah, and I think they're out of that size. I think they have the 23-inch is the biggest one they have, and I think they've raised their prices. But it seems like everybody's
Yeah,
raising their prices these days. So
yeah,
um, yeah, but
cool.
most of them are small. I've got different actual glass like bell jars. My place is kind of loaded with televisions and glass things, and
Seems like a
with
wonderland.
random. It's ridiculous. Again, I didn't anticipate all this, but now I have this apartment full of yeah. It's basically a mad scientist lab in here, basically.
Yes. Is this more Austin Studio you got going on here with the fonts and such?
On that
Oh yeah,
one,
obviously it says right there,
uh,
but with
no,
Blender.
no, yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. It's So one of the things you can do with Oski Studio, and it's also how I made the TV, is there's a plugin for Blender with it, so you can make things in Blender and sit them on the stage in Blender, and then it will connect to Oski Studio. And then once the object is connected to Oski Studio, you can rotate the object inside of Oski Studio. It doesn't have to even move in Blender. So I've
Oh, cool.
basically extruded some letter forms in Blender to make 3D letters, and then used my VJ software to connect um, the keyboard to the different sounds that create those letters. Because again, the letters are recreated with sound. So I imported all these wave files into the VDMX software, hooked each sound to the letters on my keyboard, and then I could trigger, the letters just by typing on my keyboard. And as they're triggered, they rotate in space. They rotate as long as the sound file plays. So you could write your name, or you could record like one sound made up of all the different sounds that spell your name or something,
Yeah,
or
chain them
whatever
together
you
like
want
this.
really.
Uh,
So that's all that's happening there. Yeah.
and you've shared these letter forms that people can actually get from you on Gumroad. if people are
Yeah, I
interested
think they're
in that.
$1. So if you want 'em.
Yeah. Another cool thing about this is that this isn't just a silent thing. Like it's an oscilloscope representing a sound signal. And so one of the really amazing things about the original demo with the mushrooms and stuff is that it actually kind of sounds cool. And I've seen like my friend Rich DDT has done a bunch of visualizations and put together a little sort of synthesizer with different buttons and stuff that you can actually put together something that sounds cool. And like
Totally.
music, but also looks like a bunch of stuff. It's amazing. You know, a lot of these, if they're really complex, especially, will just sound kind of like noise, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of cool too. I like noise, but yeah, again, that's part of the mind-blowing part of this software is that, or just the art in general that people are doing with it, is they're making cool sounds that sound, yeah, they're just like they sound like dance music, or they sound like
Mhm.
just somehow the tones all fit together, but those sounds are actually even producing the visuals. It's like, what? Like the music is making its own music video? Like
Yeah.
how? Like, but yeah, I mean, and there's loads of these videos, and Jerobeam and Hansi like even made an album, and the whole album makes its own music video. And these,
Wow.
like, you could, like, it's so trippy. They look so good. Yeah, again, I think they are from the future. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And they've got a really cool explainer video. I think the first one that I played here, about how, you know, it's made by combining, you know, wow, one axis, like the x-axis is one channel left or right audio, and the y-axis is the other channel left or right audio. And so you're just combining these two waveforms to show them on the oscope, and then like you get this stuff. It's just
Yeah, I think
amazing.
if I turn one of these knobs, I can make it there.
Ooh.
So this is, I don't know if you can see. It's playing just the regular waveform in not XY mode,
Mm.
and then here I gotta turn this off again. So this
Haha.
is just
Oh, there we
regular
go.
waveform. Yeah, and then if I switch over back to XY mode, where is it? Oh, I broke it.
Live demos, everybody.
Yeah, it happens. I lost my vertical somehow. Oh, there it is. It just takes a minute to resolve. Analog. And I like how
Yeah.
it drifts back into position. Um, yeah, they can make them sound real cool. I've never figured out how to make the sounds sound good. All of this is new to me, the analog synthesizer stuff, the video stuff. So I'm still like learning how to make. Oh, 1 second.
I love
Aha!
it. This is great.
Yeah, I know, that's perfect, right? Um, all this is new to me, so like I'm still learning how to make decent sounding sounds, and so I'm not ready to start making pleasing sounds with noise yet. I can make lots of noise, that's for sure. But
Nice.
a couple of the videos I did with the oscilloscopes keep the original like clickety weird noises, but most of them I've replaced like with the sounds that are triggering those noises. So most of the sounds that you hear in my videos with the oscilloscope stuff are the Moogs, and then the Moogs are sending audio to OSCE Studio, which is pulsing the shapes and stuff. So the stuff is moving to the sounds, but the background sounds that are creating the thing are just not not in the video.
Yeah.
Turn that
Oh,
off.
yeah.
Yeah.
A bunch
Oh,
of
we're good.
different comments here.
Technical. Yeah.
A whole new dimension to
Anyway.
video. I would love to point out that there's another cool aspect of this that you've shown off, which is how to do flexible media. And we actually have a question from, or a comment from Yanni, who's like, some reflective surfaces you could do with resin 3D printers, perhaps. And, you know, I've had some issues with some types of 3D printers. It's like very hard to get them to be optically clear enough to like look like it's hovering like that. But you could potentially with, you know, with a resin 3D printer, maybe.
Yeah.
But
I've never
then,
tried that.
yeah, but you do show how to do it with flexible materials that you can fit into, for example, like a flask shape, which is what you're showing in this video. And maybe
Mm.
not in this one
Yeah,
particularly.
I get to that in that one. Let's see. Let's find one. So this one in here is flexible, but it's maybe not the best example. Um, here, I'm using these to hold cables, but I think so. All of my like I use this to like hold my cables, but it also has a reflector in it because everything clear in my apartment has a reflector in it. So in there, there's a it's hard to see. You can kind of if it catches the you can see it when I
Which is
turn it.
kind of the point, right? Sort of
Yeah,
invisible.
yeah, there it is.
There you go.
Anyway, yeah, that's just a piece of thin polycarbonate, and you can roll it up and shove it into shapes, and then it pops back open. It's you can cut it with scissors, which you can't really do with like thick. Well, you can, but it'll like shatter or it'll crackle on the edges with acrylic. You can do it with some food packaging. It just really depends on the size of the thing that you're trying to shove a piece of plastic inside of. So in my tutorials, I talk about polycarbonate thin sheets that I got at Tap Plastic. I usually buy them in like large, sheets, and then cut down chunks until I'm through the sheet, and then I got to buy a new one. And they come in different thicknesses. I try to get the ones that are cuttable with scissors because I don't like messing with utility blades or
Yeah.
tools. Excuse me.
Yeah. Tap Plastics is a magical place. Is there a specific place that people should go on your channels to find the tutorials? Do you have like a
To,
playlist of those
uh,
specifically, or?
oh, that's a good. I should make like a resource just for the tutorials. On
Yeah.
YouTube, I mean, so my YouTube didn't used to have like a million like experiments with my videos and stuff, but if you scroll through them, you'll find one, and it's usually me, like with my hands like this because I talk with my hands, and those are usually the tutorials. Okay,
Cool.
and there's like a couple in there with how to hook your old TV up to like a modern media player. There's another one that's how to like what vessels work best and what materials work best inside the vessels if you're going to go that route.
There we go.
Yeah, I just like that one. That's where my profile picture came from. So like I try to make these explainers from time to time. Again, part of the art for me is explaining this stuff and hopefully inspiring people to make their own thing, or or at least get some insight to the process. It is a little challenging. I have all these ideas to make things, and I have this want to make these tutorials. So it's like a bit of a juggling act. So I'm not always making tutorials. So, but sometimes I'll
Yeah.
stop and try to explain something. But I'm gonna need like a team of people or something if I'm gonna keep making like tutorials and video art.
I know that feeling.
I bet.
Yes. So I imagine working with vintage technology that probably leads to you building up a lot of, or using your soldering skills a fair amount. You talked about doing some repair in the past. How much repair do you typically have to do on these like old CRTs and stuff?
I try
Like
not to
none,
do
right?
any. Like I'm not. I really I do not have great electronic skills. I have that. I have that confidence that I can, and then like it hasn't caught on like some of the other stuff that I've been doing. A friend of mine just the other day suggested that I have my soldering kit and everything out, and then I will learn it because I will use it. Because
Yep,
if it's shoved away, like I just won't use it, right? And
that's
that's a
real.
great point. Like I should have it. I should have it out. That's how I learned my synthesizer stuff. Like I wouldn't use it if it wasn't sitting right next to Facebook and Instagram, right? So it's right there where I'm sitting. So like I would use it. Um, so if so if I get a broken thing, like chances are it's going to stay broken until like I can either have somebody like help me fix it, or I can, very minorly, gingerly, slowly repair it. Like I've got a really great old Philco Predicta Princess model, like beautiful TV. Those are the very old TVs with the swivel top.
Mm.
It's
They're sort of
it was a
blobby, aren't
gift.
they? Kind of like bulbous,
It's
space agey,
yes,
like the
yeah, they're
future.
so good. And it's broken. It's really broken, but
Oh,
it's a project, and I need a workbench, and I need a soldering kit, and
it never ends.
it never ends. Yeah. There it is. She's a beaut.
Oh yeah. Oh, look at this red one. Red
They're
and
so good.
avocado. Incredible. Ice
They're
cream.
notoriously difficult to repair,
Oh
but
yeah.
when they're working, man, they're yeah, they're, you can't beat it. That's like, and that came out. That's like those are like 1958, 1959. Can you believe that? I mean, they
Wow.
were
Look at this
doing.
Art Deco style antenna situation here. How
Mhm.
gorgeous is that? Ah, boy.
I love old
Uh,
TVs.
oh yeah. Jess is encouraging you to post your projects on Hackster and tutorials and stuff. Absolutely. I can I can nudge you an email, but you don't have to. Yeah, these almost remind me of like Apple Tech, where it's like very beautiful, but also very closed off in order to achieve that like sleek, polished outer. You don't have any exposed screws or whatever that are visible, and but it is
I
lovely.
know they're so nice. And like they're they're I mean the TV itself, right, and is a giant tube, right? It's a big,
Hmm.
but then it's those TVs are filled with beautiful tubes on the inside as well. I mean, I know this is not new knowledge or anything, but I mean, just the insides are really beautiful when they work. Like they're all
Mm.
glowing and warm. Unfortunately, sometimes they stink, but that's part of it. And they're like furniture. They're big, right? And yeah, like you said, they're deco-y. They're like made to make a statement in the room. I'm sure some modern TVs have some cool aesthetics and whatever, but they're basically just black rectangles that look really
Mm.
great when they're on, but they just look like black rectangles when they're off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the other day I saw like a GE, like it was a 1974, I think, black and white, but it was carpeted. It had carpet on the front. Like it was so cool.
I've seen some of
Um,
those. Yeah.
I've got one that's denim. Um, it's covered in jeans. It's like it was,
What?
Do you want me to get it? I'm gonna get it. I'll be right back.
Yes. I'm having a very Eddie Izzard moment. It's covered in jeans.
Okay. Covered in jeans. Covered in
Oh,
bees.
I'm glad you got that. I'm not just like talking to myself. Oh
Yeah, sorry.
my
Here, let's.
gosh! Look at that.
No, I totally heard you. Yeah. So this is
Oh, look
the
at the
It's
design in the sides there
check
too.
it out.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
is that stitched? Look
yeah,
at it! Wow!
yeah. And then look on the top. This model is called the
Oh,
Sidekick, and it
oh
has
my
a.
gosh!
It's got like a little leather like jeans side. Like
Wow!
come on,
Like a little
man.
brand
Why
patch
don't we
thing.
have more jeans TVs?
GVs. No, that doesn't quite work.
Oh, I want my
Jellyvisions, I think,
GV.
would be the technical term. Oh
Oh,
no.
right.
Oh, what have you done? No, this is gonna be a thing now.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
amazing.
yeah, that one could probably use some repair. Like it drifts a little bit. They all get a little funky after a while, especially the
What
tube
is it?
ones. The capacitors were never designed to last that long, and
Mm,
so those are usually the first thing to go. Again, I don't know. I guess I'll have to do it at some point. I've got some very old TVs that I'd like to keep pictures on, so I'm gonna have to learn. And they're luckily, we live in an era where you can learn things on YouTube, and I will do that someday. I'm just
yeah,
not
there's a lot
looking
of stuff
forward to
around
it.
like recapping vintage technology does seem to be the sort of like first thing that people go for when something goes out.
I
Yeah.
mean, one reason people probably shy away from it is you're dealing with high voltage, and I know it's a little bit overblown. Like people, if it were super common, or if it were that big of a problem, it would be super common to hear about people like electrocuting themselves on TVs. And I've never heard of it personally. Maybe some of your viewers have, but it does scare me enough to not really want to
Mm,
mess with the flyback or like the capacitors that really hold the charge. So I
yeah.
try not to open them if I don't have to. Yeah.
That is a good philosophy. Yeah, so besides Jellyvisions, which I've decided is the official term for the Gene's television, what
Ooh,
are you
Jellyvision.
I think this is it's the grammatical standard for covering things in denim. But yeah, what is next for you? Do you have any things that you can talk about that you're like thinking about experimenting with next, or things that you haven't quite dug into, but like that fascinate you, and or anything that's
Oh
lying
man.
around that you haven't dug into yet?
Yeah, one of the things I started early on and I'd like to get back to because things kind of come back around is taking microscopic or very small things and then making them
Ooh,
big and as a Pepper's Ghost, like live. So I would like
yes.
to do this. Um, Maybe somebody will beat me to it, but that's cool. I might never get around to it, but I would like to
You're welcome to.
like capture a water bear, a tardigrade,
Yes.
on like live, and then make a Pepper's Ghost of a live tiny tardigrade. Like I know that that's got so many factors like to get it right, but I think that would be super cool. Um, so I'd like to do more. I've done that with a bug that I found in my lettuce in the fridge. I, I was like getting ready to throw out some lettuce because I had some bugs, and I was like, wait a minute, like I'm gonna stick this under my microscope, and like, and I did, and it, it was like, luckily it was really a lethargic bug because it was in the refrigerator, and so it was kind of slow. But I got him for a couple seconds, just kind of like groggily moving around, and got kind of a foggy Pepper's Ghost out of it. But I feel like if I went even deeper, if I went smaller, microscopic, that would be cool. And maybe even in the giant bell jar too, like make it a great big water bear, that would be
Yes.
cool. So
Oh
that's a
man.
goal. Um,
This reminds me
got
of there's
there.
a couple of people doing so Tardy Babe and
What?
Animals and Synthesizers did a collaboration of, I feel like this is a very you thing, of, so
That's
I'm not
super
playing the
cool.
music right now, but this is, Tardy Babe shot the video of the little tardigrade, and this guy puts synthesizer soundtracks to different animals and stuff, and like everything from birds
Oh,
to
I
like
follow that account, but I didn't see that one. That's
oh
great.
yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
excellent. Well, there you go. Um,
Thanks.
Sweet. Yeah. So tardigrades and Pepper's Ghost. I feel like, man.
Yeah. I'd like to do like again, I like to make big things. I
Mhm.
work basically in my apartment and it's not big.
Whew.
So like I can't really make huge things, but I'd like to make larger things. I'd like to make yeah, more like a whole wall of TVs, like working together to make things. That would be fun. Or just I don't know. Yeah, just more. I just want to make more, really. And yeah, and I want to learn more about making music on the synthesizers, and
Oh
I
yeah.
still want to make noisy things, but I'd like to make, like I'd like to get a little bit better at making like pleasing noises.
Yeah.
um,
Understood. Yeah, I've
yeah.
never personally been able to make anything that sounded nice on a modular, but I did make a nice sort of rain sound once. And that's my greatest achievement.
Oh,
I just
cool.
have to. This is not necessarily relevant to what we're talking about. It's just really cool. I love how you got like this looks very precarious, but also really cool.
Oh,
One
oh, thanks.
CRT on top of another with a flask in between, and like two Pepper's Ghosts talking to each other. It's like, what?
Yeah, thanks. That's yeah, that one is going into an art show in November.
Cool.
And so that one I like. Well, I like it. I mean, I like my art. Well, I like the art. I like it because it all can exist as one thing. Like it doesn't need to be hooked to a whole system to make it work. It can stand alone in the corner of a gallery if it needs to.
Right.
And it's simple enough that it's interesting to look at. You know what I mean? That's just a water flask.
We might have different
Like
ideas of what simple is.
what?
I said we might have different ideas of what simple is, but I get what you're saying. Like it's just two
Yeah,
people with some plastic and a flask, but also like it's
yeah.
the whole thing.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, yeah. It's just yeah, it's practical. Everything in there. Those are just reflections coming from the TVs. So there's no extra LCD display
Mm.
to involve. Or sometimes I use an iPad to act as a reflecting thing or
Hmm.
something to be reflected. I have worked with projections a little bit, but not too much. Again, I don't have lots of room to project things. I do have a few projectors that I could use. One thing that I have done that's fun to make really big Pepper's Ghosts is to reflect or to project onto a scrim, like you mentioned earlier.
Uh-huh.
But instead of just the image just being on the scrim, I use a reflector to catch the image of on the scrim. So like you can imagine that bell jar, if the projector is projecting into a scrim below it,
Yeah.
you can catch that image in the reflection, and then you don't have to have a screen underneath it. So that bell jar could be hanging from the ceiling, or like, or it could just be huge because it doesn't need a giant display underneath it. You could just project something huge
Right.
underneath it. So these are
Wow.
ideas I have that I'd like to do, but I'll get there eventually when I have the space.
Oh, I love that. Oh man,
Yeah.
it's just like all the illusions stacked on top of each other, like smoke and
Yeah,
mirrors at its best. Ha! Love it.
totally.
So,
Cool.
everyone, we're coming to the end of our show, which means I'm going to show you all the links again. And of course, you can find them in the bottom of or in the description below. If you want to support Josh, you can get a sketch with if you order some pins.
Oh
Do
yeah,
you
I
do
do
that
little
every
sketches on
one?
all the orders. So
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
that's amazing.
makes me feel like I'm earning my money.
uh, That's very moral of you. So there's Instagram here, you got Twitter, TikTok, anywhere that you get your entertainment, you can get a live feed of, well, maybe not a live feed, but like Pepper's Ghost piped into your eyeballs from wherever. And also these cool little pins and maybe patches as well. So all kinds of cool stuff to check out. There's Gumroad if you want to get little do
Fonts.
your own playing with pre-made pieces and stuff. Thank you, Josh. This has been amazing.
Oh, Alex, thank you so much. It's a real honor to be here, and thanks for everybody for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining and leaving your comments and stuff. Even more rabbit holes to get into than usual. Yes, that's what we do. We want to eat up all your time. All right, thanks everyone. Ciao.
Cool.